Hey everybody, welcome to Cheryl Lawson Show. Thank you so much for tuning in this Saturday morning. It's almost noon here in the Central Standard Time. Hopefully you are staying warm. Those of my listeners out on the East Coast, hopefully you're staying warm and off the roads as I've been hearing all of the advisors to say. Things are great here in Oklahoma. Weather's a little gloomy and overcast, but other than that, we're fortunate to not have the big snow. We could use a little rain, and it looks like we might get some the next day or so. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about the analytics of things, right? And particularly in social media. I wanted to call this podcast analysis paralysis because I suffer from and am guilty of over analyzing things and to the point where I've got to step away from the computer as you will, just step away and take a break from things. But it was interesting. Seth Godin's post today was about the roller coaster of shipping, and just kind of on this that all of us who create something, whether it's a product that you ship or a service or an event or a conference, kind of like what I'm producing. But there's this roller coaster where you have created the framework and you think it's wonderful, but the people you think are the leaders and people who should care aren't seeming to care, and you start to feel a little insecure about the product, and then all of a sudden it ships, and you go back on this kind of roller coaster of, well, the next one isn't good enough, and it's not going to get to number one. So I really kind of felt those words, and I felt the post this morning because I get the same way. And what's fortunate now about social and the tools is a couple years ago, let's just go back a second. A couple years ago, a lot of people were talking about what is the ROI, and can ROI or return on investment be measured in social media and using social media. And a lot of people said no and walked away. But other people, much smarter than than that, said, well, wait a minute. One, there are ways to measure your activity in social. And two, maybe it's not the return on your investment in the traditional sense. Another phrase that some folks online, and I really appreciate and respect, have come up with is the return on relationship, right? What does having that friend who digs what you do, connecting with you, wanting to support you in whatever way that they can, right? So support doesn't necessarily have to be the sale. The support could be, I'm going to let people know that, I think you're a cool person, and the people that I connect with might be the person that buys from you, or that buys your book, or registers for your event. So I think social is more about, and I've said this from the very beginning, the beauty of social media is that you are able to connect with people who really dig what you do, right? Who dig you as a person, who dig your point of view, who dig your voice. I know I sound like I'm from the 60s. It's really groovy. They think you're groovy and they dig you. But it's true. It's, hey, if you follow me and if you have followed me on Twitter, you pretty much know my voice. You hearing my voice now, you would not be surprised that I sound like this, that I talk like this, because I tweet like this, right? And if you meet me in person, I now talk in tweets, so it probably is not is no surprise that this is how I talk and how I communicate. And so we can create relationships with people on that level that, what, if I ever need somebody to do this or that, I'm going to go to the person who I think is pretty cool online. We don't always have to agree philosophically or politically, and a lot of us don't. But you know what? I see that they do good work, and that's the person I'm going to connect with if I need to hire a photographer or a video photographer or a massage therapist or whatever, somebody who I get from their social profiles. And, I think taking time building relationships is as valuable as, um, taking time to create the sales pitch, right? The sales, whatever directs you to your sales. And I know that sounds like the whole warm and fuzzy, but here's the thing that a lot of the smart people have done is they have created enough tools, dashboards, analytics, so that you can measure whatever you want to measure. Do you want to measure how far a tweet can go? How many people are interacting with your hashtag? You want to know the value, and there are companies out there putting dollar values on your Facebook likes and Facebook friends, and how much is that leading back to your sales. We all know that Google Analytics can get you pretty specific about how people are interacting with your website and the things that are on your blog or your website, and where people are coming from, what types of content they're interacting with the most, and even where they go once they've landed on your site. I noticed on my Party Aficionado blog there for a time last year for the Social Media Tulsa conference, I ordered this thing called the social shower curtain, and it was a shower curtain like a Facebook page, right? It had, the little hole in it was like the old Facebook profile, and it was really a fun thing. It cost me, I don't know, probably $20. It was 14.99 euro, and so we had it up, and people were taking photos behind it, and it just became this really fun thing at the conference. And I posted pictures, and the title of the post was the best, 14.99 I'd ever spent. And that was, I think, immediately after the conference, and when people started seeing the pictures and people heard about it, that was the number one driver to my website. Now, because I'm not selling a particular product on my website other than, registration to one of my events, or allowing people to hire me as a consultant or a speaker or as an event organizer, I'm not really doing the hard sell on my site. So how people get to my website so they can see how they can hire me is really important to me. So that was, it was just an amazing amount of people Googling those words and then finding my website. It was an amazing thing to watch on Google Analytics, how many people were coming in. Of course, the CES party list post that I do every year gets a lot of attention because people want to know where the parties are. So, and then when they're there, they get a chance to learn who I am and what I'm about. And what was interesting is while I was in Las Vegas this year, I actually ran into somebody who had read my blog, searched for another list, found my list, and I got a chance to meet her face to face, and now we're connected online. So it's really cool how those things work. But what my fear is that we're probably getting too many analytics. Right? You can measure just about everything, and to the point where now I think that's going to be what people are focusing on, and whether that's real or not. Right? I've always said don't worry about how many followers you have, because a million followers that you are not connecting with and not being social with means nothing compared to somebody with 100 followers or 1,000 followers, and they're completely engaging and having conversations and actually making things happen on their site. So I'm not talking about paying attention to those kind of numbers of followers, numbers of friends and likes and those kind of things. And although I think if you have more followers, that's great, and you want more followers, that's fine. But don't use that as the end all be all to measure your influence or your effectiveness, because more followers doesn't always equal more sales or more impact or whatever it is that you're looking for. So if you want to measure it, there's probably a tool now that will help you do that. I just mentioned a few. If you're using a site like Hootsuite, I actually use Hootsuite Pro because I manage several accounts, and with the free version, you can only have so many accounts that you manage under one umbrella. So I pay, I think, $5.99, and I get a lot of nice analytics. I get to see which things people are interacting about with, and which links are more popular, when the time of day it is. I try not to spend a whole lot of time on those again because you could get analysis paralysis. You could start looking at those things to the point where you're only posting to to get reaction instead of having conversations and posting in order to share information and get information back. So I think there has to be a balance between having those conversations and being informative, and then talking about the stuff that you want to talk about from a sales standpoint. So yeah, you should add some value to your community, but then also talk to them, right? I think there's the balance, right? Add some value, share your point of view, kind of how what I'm doing here, at least that's what I think I'm doing. And then, have conversations. Please feel free to tweet me if you like to have a conversation on Twitter, because I do respond to either Party Aficionado or SOC Media Tulsa. So anyway, and I'm a Jack Russell as well. But anyway, so I'll give you an example of when the analytics that are available to you is a good thing. Now, they're all a good thing, and if in moderation, right? Just like anything. So this morning I wake up and we're within 40 days of the conference because I've posted that countdown clock on my blog, and it has a tendency to freak me out, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, 40 days. But the thing is interesting is I've been planning this conference since the last one ended, but most other people have not been as concerned about my project as I have, and I have to be aware of that. And this is about the time when they start saying, okay, well, let me figure out what I was supposed to give to Cheryl and what I was supposed to be doing, and how I need to register and do all that stuff. So fortunately for me, the foundations are there. So if somebody's now looking for Social Media Tulsa Conference, they can pretty much find everything: our speakers, our presenters, how to register, who our sponsors are, how, if they want to sponsor, how to get involved, that kind of thing. So the last minute nature drives me batty from a organizing standpoint, but I get it. I totally understand that it's not on everybody's radar when it's on mine. So, and one way for me to use the tools of the social web and use the analytics tools to chill myself out is by looking at the numbers and comparing this year versus last year versus the year before. This is our third year of the conference, so it's really easy to do that. On Eventbrite, for example, I would go to Eventbrite and I can look at completed events or past events. This morning I actually looked at the 2012 registrations, and you'd be surprised. This time last year, we only had 14 people registered for the conference. Now, we ended up with about 100 people, and that's a good growth, a slow growth for us from year one to year two. And but we only had 14 people on this day last year, and we ended up with, I think, 95 people total registered on the Eventbrite site, and then about 100 people attending with a few sponsors and guests that they brought at the last minute. So very happy with that number, but it didn't happen until the last 30 days or so. So I think it was 80 something odd people who registered between February 9th and March 14th, which was the day before our conference. And then I thought to myself, well, let me go back and look at 2011, the first year that we did the conference, and same deal. The past 2 weeks of the conference was when 80 or 60 some odd people registered for the conference. So having the tools and the analytics in front of you helps you to not freak out. At least it helps me not to freak out. And it also kind of guides you to, okay, this is on the right track, or maybe this is not working. This is where I would maybe need to tweak my message, or um, and make sure I start adding to the conversations during this time, because this is when people are interested in buying the thing that I'm selling. So um, my point to you is, use the tools of the social web, use the new dashboard tools like Hootsuite and Google Analytics. And I just signed up for another one. Let me see if I can find what it is, because I think it was a really cool. I think Topsy is what it is, another analytics tool. Hash tracking is another one, hashtracking.com, that you can measure hashtags and those kind of things, how the impact of it. Tweetreach.com is another one that I like, from because you can pay $20 to get a full report if you need to send it to a sponsor or somebody who was involved in your project, and you want to let them know who the influencers were, how far the tweets went about whatever it is that you're tweeting about. Um, of course, Facebook has their analytic piece, and if you want to look at how people are interacting with your content on Facebook, if you have a page, it's readily available to you. So my point, I guess, is use the analytics to measure the things that you're doing to make yourself feel confident and comfortable that you're spending your time where you should, but focus on creating those kinds of relationships that make people, however many there are, whether it's 50 or 100 or 100,000, to make people want to support you in whatever way they can. If somebody can't attend or buy your book, make sure that they understand how important it is to you to share that information, right? If you're not in Tulsa and you think, man, Cheryl's put together a really great conference, then share the post on Eventbrite, or like a post, or come into the Google Plus Hangout, or tweet on the SM Tulsa hashtag. So there are ways that you can support your friends and people you dig online without having to buy the book or buy the product. That is as important as making the sale, right? Does that make sense? I hope I'm not just rambling, because I think the return on relationship is more about connecting with people and understanding that if I dig what you do, I'm going to share it. I may not purchase your book, or I may not buy come to your conference, or I may not come and come to your event, but no problem sharing it with my friends and people who are in the area, or somebody who might be best for your product. And give people credit. I think a lot of times we look for excuses instead of looking to give people credit. About the time you start feeling sorry for yourself, and looking at Seth's post today, about the time you start getting the lizard brain and start thinking you're not good enough, and people have abandoned you, is about the time when you realize that somebody else has been working behind the scenes to really support and boost you up. So never feel like that you're not making progress. If you're finding out that what you're doing isn't working, that's still progress, because now you can tweak some things or shift some things around to satisfy your audience, or to make a better product, right? So the analytics are there. They're great to have. They are easy to obsess over. I'm speaking from experience. So just don't do it. Use the analytics as a way to guide or follow up with what you're doing, but use social media and the tools of the social web to connect with people, make relationships, dig people, and be somebody that they're digging. Okay. I feel like Sammy Davis Jr. over here. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna head over to Zumba. Class starts at 12, so I gotta get ready. I hope you enjoyed the talk. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section of this Spreaker, or you can tweet me at Party Aficionado. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.